The final warning: the galaxy had been a place of constant conflict, a never-ending struggle between the strongest species. For centuries, Earth had watched from the sidelines, its people struggling to survive against the odds. But humanity had learned from its pain, its losses, and its failures. And now, Earth was no longer the weak, defenseless planet the galaxy had once believed it to be. The message came without warning. No fanfare, no dramatic speeches, just a simple, clear transmission that echoed through every corner of the galaxy. Stop attacking Earth, or we stop pretending to be civilized. The transmission was broadcast across all frequencies, reaching every alien empire and every fleet in the galaxy. It was a warning, final warning, but it carried more than just words. It carried the weight of humanity's resolve. On Earth, leaders gathered in the Earth Defense Command Center, a massive facility located deep beneath the planet's surface. The room was quiet, the air thick with tension. Generals, diplomats, and strategists stood at attention, awaiting the orders of the United Earth Council. For years, they had defended their world, hidden in the shadows, never daring to openly challenge the alien empires that sought to dominate them. But that was about to change. The moment of truth, as the final words of the broadcast rang out. Marcus Cole, the head of Earth's military forces, stepped forward. His face was stern, his eyes filled with the fire of someone who had been pushed to the brink. For too long, Earth had been attacked, its colonies raided, its resources drained, its people slaughtered. It had endured the cruelty of the galaxy's strongest species, all while pretending that it could survive by simply existing. But no more. Prepare for the worst, Marcus said to the council, his voice cutting through the silence. We've shown them our strength. Now they will either listen or feel the consequences of ignoring us. The message had been broadcast across the galaxy, but Marcus knew the galaxy's greatest powers wouldn't listen. The Zarkar Empire, known for its brutal conquests, would not back down. The Thraxi Coalition, skilled in deception and manipulation, would not simply accept Earth's demands. And the Varn Dominion, advanced beyond most species in technology, would view humanity's warning as a challenge to their supremacy. But what they didn't know, what they couldn't understand, was that humanity was no longer a species afraid of standing up for itself. They had been pushed too far. This time, they would not be ignored. A message of strength, a warning, wasn't just a call for peace. It was a message of strength, of resolve. The galaxy's most powerful species had underestimated Earth for too long. They had dismissed humanity's the ability to fight back, believing their superior weapons and technologies would be enough to control a planet that had once been nothing more than a speck of dust in the universe. But humanity was different. The leaders of Earth knew they were outmatched in terms of firepower, but they also knew that Earth's greatest strength lay in its people. It was in their spirit, their determination, their ability to come together in times of crisis. For years, Earth had survived the most brutal of attacks and had fought off every invasion, not with superior technology, but with the will to survive. The alien factions react to the alien empires received the message with disbelief. At first, they thought it was a joke, an empty threat from a species too weak to make good on its words. But as the message repeated, their doubts began to fade. The Zarkar Empire, led by their ruthless general, Commander Khan, sat at the helm of their fleet, preparing to launch their next assault on Earth. They had always seen humanity as beneath them. The Zarkar had crushed entire civilizations, and they thought Earth would be just another conquest. Do they really think they can threaten us? Commander Khan sneered, glancing at the holographic display of Earth's defenses. They have no idea what they're up against. But then, as Khan examined the broadcast again, he noticed something that made him pause. There was no fear in the voice of the human leader, no hesitation, just an unwavering certainty that made Khan uncomfortable. Humans were no longer acting like prey, they were acting like predators. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, the Thraxi Coalition and the Van Dominion discussed the broadcast in secret meetings, their leaders wary of the implications. Could humanity be bluffing? Or was this a species that had truly transformed from a meek civilization into a force to be reckoned with? They debated long into the night, but one thing was clear: Earth had sent a message that could not be ignored. The galaxy's oldest empires had thought that humans could never fight back. They had been wrong. A shift in the galaxy as the alien fleets began their preparation for the next phase of their attack. They didn't notice the subtle changes happening on Earth. Humanity had already begun to prepare, not just militarily, but mentally. The Earth Defense Command was pulling together every resource it had. The human fleet, hidden for years, began to emerge from its secret bases, ready for action. "We don't need to fight them all at once," Marcus said, turning to his team. "But when the time comes, we will fight, and we will win. They have underestimated us for the last time." The first strike. It wasn't long before the first alien warship appeared at the edge of Earth's orbit, signaling the beginning of the next phase of the invasion. But what the alien commanders didn't expect was the immediate response. Humanity's greatest weapon, a massive energy cannon hidden beneath Earth's surface, powered up. The first shot sent a shockwave through the alien fleet, knocking them. Of course, for the first time, the aliens saw what Earth was truly capable of. Humanity was no longer pretending. The final warning had been issued, and now, the galaxy would face the consequences of ignoring it. The battle for Earth had begun, and the galaxy's most powerful empires had no idea how much they had underestimated humanity. The alien response. The galaxy's strongest factions were not accustomed to being challenged. They had conquered, enslaved, and dominated countless species, their power unmatched. The Zarkar, the Thraxi, and the Varn had never once feared the Earthlings. Now their thoughts were filled with doubt and unease. Earth had sent a clear message, and while they had once laughed at humanity, it was no longer funny. The arrogance that had once been their greatest strength now made them vulnerable. The Zarkar fleets. The Zarkar Empire was the first to respond. Known for their brutal tactics and overwhelming firepower, the Zarkar had never been stopped by any species. Their fleet, led by the infamous Commander Khan, was one of the most feared in the galaxy. The Zarkar had come to Earth, ready to squash what they saw as a minor rebellion. But as their warships entered Earth's orbit, something felt different. Commander Khan, standing on the bridge of his flagship, looked out at the planet below. The vast fleet of Zarkar warships filled the space around Earth, each ship bristling with weapons. But instead of feeling the usual confidence, he felt a slight unease. The warning humanity had sent was not one of desperation, it was one of defiance. The Zarkar general had expected Earth to beg for mercy, not demand it. "You think they're bluffing?" the Zarkar general asked, turning to his tactical officer. "They have nothing compared to us." The officer hesitated. "It's hard to say, Commander. They've shown something we didn't expect. The energy output from their stations. It's not like anything we've seen before." Khan's face twisted into a grin, though there was no humor in it. "We'll see how much courage they have. when we break through their defenses. With a nod, he gave the order. Prepare the fleet. Earth is about to learn why the Zarkar never lose. The Thraxis' cunning plan, meanwhile, in the cold shadows of the Thraxi coalition. The galaxy's most intelligent species, their leaders were in a meeting of their own. The Thraxi were not known for their strength, but for their intelligence and cunning. Their empire was built on alliances, manipulation, and mind games. They had observed Earth's rise from afar, and they had always dismissed humanity as too primitive to make any real difference. Now, though the situation had changed, Commander Droll, a high-ranking Thraxi strategist, stood before a holographic map of the solar system. His sharp, elongated eyes flicked between the various alien fleets surrounding Earth. They have more than just military power, Droll muttered, stroking his elongated chin. This is a psychological war as much as a physical one. Their message is a challenge to everything we've worked for, and we can't afford to let them stand as equals. The Thraxi ambassador responded with a voice laced with concern. Should we strike? Take Earth's colonies as a warning to them? No, Droll replied, his voice calculating. We will approach this differently. We will undermine them where it hurts most within their own ranks. The humans are powerful, but their unity is fragile. If we sow distrust among their leaders, we can turn their strength into weakness. The Thraxi were planning their next move, but their confidence had waned. Humanity's message had caused a fracture in their cold, calculated strategy. What they once saw as a simple target was now a dangerous adversary. The Thraxi, masters of manipulation, realized they might not be able to outwit Earth as easily as they had hoped. The Varn dominions concerned the Varn Dominion, one of the most technologically advanced civilizations in the galaxy, had also been watching closely. Their ships, equipped with advanced weaponry and shielding, were unmatched in combat. But the Varn knew the galaxy's balance of power had shifted. The human species had shown a strength of will that was more dangerous than any weapon. Ambassador Zorath of the Varn Dominion stood before a vast council of his leaders, who were all filled with doubt. His voice rang out with authority as he addressed the gathering. They are not like the other species we've conquered, Zoroth said, his tone unshakable. The humans are unpredictable, and they are bold in ways we didn't anticipate. We must tread carefully. Their final warning is not just an empty threat. We've seen what their technology can do, and we've seen their resolve. One of the Varn counselors, a younger diplomat, spoke up, disbelief still in his voice. But what is their true power? They are still so young compared to us. Zorath's eyes narrowed. Their true power is their unwillingness to yield. They don't just fight to survive. They fight to protect what is theirs, and that makes them dangerous. The council chamber fell silent. The Varn Dominion, so accustomed to controlling the galaxy through fear and technological superiority, now had a real threat in front of them. They were no longer the strongest species. Humanity had arrived, and they were not afraid to fight. Rising stormers, the alien fleets began their final preparations to invade Earth. Humanity had already begun its counteroffensive. Earth's own defenses, previously underestimated, were fully activated. Massive energy shields protected Earth's surface, while orbital weapons platforms prepared to unleash devastating firepower. The human fleet, equipped with advanced weaponry and newly discovered technologies, began to assemble. The message was clear. Earth would not go down without a fight. The galaxy's greatest empires, once untouchable, were now facing an enemy they had never expected. Humanity had turned the tables. No longer the prey, Earth was now the hunter. the calm before the storm on Earth's surface. Humanity's leaders watched as the situation escalated. The Earth Defense Command was on high alert, with every available resource being put to use. But even as their defenses prepared, there was one question that hung over them all. How far would the galaxy's greatest powers go to stop them? Marcus Cole, Earth's military leader, stood before his team, his expression stoic. He knew what was coming. The time for diplomacy had passed. "We've shown them our strength," he said, his voice steady. "But now we must prove our resolve. They may have underestimated us before, but they won't again." As the alien fleets advanced toward Earth, the galaxy was about to witness the final test of humanity's survival and its place in the galaxy. Humanity's unseen strength. Calm before the storm was over, as the alien fleets advanced toward Earth, humanity's hidden power began to unfold. The Zarkar, the Van, and the Thraxi had thought Earth was nothing more than a fragile, defenseless species, an easy target for conquest. But they were wrong. Humanity had been preparing for this moment for centuries, while the galaxy's most powerful species made their way toward Earth with the confidence of conquerors. They had failed to see the one thing that made humanity unique, its ability to fight back with everything it had, no matter the odds. The first strike, the first sign that Earth was not going down quietly, came from the edge of the atmosphere. Humanity's orbital defense network, previously undetected by the alien forces, powered up. Dozens of hidden energy cannons focused on the incoming alien ships. The Zarkar fleet, a brutal force built on overwhelming strength, was the first to feel Earth's retaliation. They had been expecting a quick victory, but the sudden surge of human technology caught them off guard. A blinding flash of energy erupted from one of Earth's defense stations, cutting through the Zarkar's outer shields like a hot knife through butter. The alien ships, once unchallenged in their own territories, now found themselves scrambling to defend against an enemy they couldn't even detect. The energy beam shattered one Zarkar battleship in an instant, sending debris and smoke spiraling into space. What just happened? Commander Khan shouted, his eyes widening in shock as the holographic display showed the damage. The alien fleets, though numerous, had not expected to meet resistance of this scale. They had underestimated Earth's capabilities, and now Earth was showing them just how dangerous they were. The human response while the Zarkar were regrouping, Earth's space fleet emerged from the shadows, gliding into position, ready for a fight. The Titan-class battleships, massive warships, with advanced shielding and devastating firepower, began to power up their weapons. These ships were humanity's most secret weapon, developed in the hidden depths of Earth's military bases. On the bridge of the HTS Vindicator, Admiral Marcus Cole, the leader of Earth's fleet, stood calmly at the command center. The room hummed with activity as officers relayed orders to the fleet. He didn't flinch, even as the first wave of alien warships loomed ahead, their weapons primed. "Ready all systems," Admiral Cole said. "It's time we show them why they should have never underestimated Earth." The Titan-class battleships fired their weapons simultaneously, unleashing an unstoppable torrent of energy that tore through the alien fleet. The beam struck the Van flagship, cutting it in half with a precision the alien forces had never witnessed. Their shields, once thought impenetrable, flickered and failed under the assault. The alien fleets were no longer on the offensive. They were reacting, trying to evade and counterattack, but humanity had caught them off guard. The Zarkar, the Van, and the Thraxi had all underestimated the power of human resolve, a struggle for control on the ground. The battle raged. Earth's ground forces trained for years to defend their world from the unexpected ballast. Massive robotic mechs and laser turret defenses sprang to life, defending Earth's cities and military installations. These weapons, once thought too experimental and costly, were now humanity's lifeline. The alien invaders were not prepared for the sheer unpredictability of humanity. The humans fought with desperation, but also with a strategic brilliance that was foreign to their attackers. Every inch of Earth's surface became a battleground. "We're being overwhelmed," an alien commander shouted over the comms, watching as his forces were pushed back by Earth's unexpected technological advantage. How could they have weapons like this? The answer was simple. Humanity had been preparing for this war for far longer than anyone had imagined. The shift in power as the day went on. The alien forces began to realize something they were losing. The Varn, so advanced in technology, had underestimated the raw willpower of humanity. Their fleet had suffered significant damage, their ships torn apart by weapons they couldn't comprehend. The Zarkar Empire, once the most feared, was retreating under Earth's relentless assault. Back in the Earth Defense Command Center, the leaders watched as the battlefield unfolded on holographic screens. Each alien fleet was pushed back, their formations breaking apart under the intense onslaught. Earth's forces, though smaller and less numerous, were fighting with everything they had. "It's working," Admiral Cole whispered to himself. "We can do this." It was clear now. Humanity had turned the tide. The unseen strength they had held back for so long had been revealed, and the galaxy's most powerful species had to acknowledge it. A galactic reckoning. The battle wasn't over. But the message was clear. Humanity would no longer be a passive player in the galaxy as the alien forces began to retreat. Their commanders quickly realized that Earth had become more than just a defensive planet. It had become a galactic force in its own right. The message that humanity had sent was not just a warning, it was a declaration of strength, and the universe had no choice but to listen. For the first time, the alien species that had dominated the galaxy were faced with the undeniable truth. Earth was no longer weak. The galaxy would never be the same again. Asterisk. A planet's choice. The battle was over, but the war had just begun. Earth had done the unthinkable. It had driven back the galaxy's most powerful fleets. The alien forces were in retreat, their ships scrambling to escape the planet's deadly defenses. Yet, as the dust settled and the remains of the destroyed alien warships drifted in Earth's orbit, a new and far more dangerous question arose. What now? Humanity had sent a clear message. Earth had shown its strength, its unseen power, and its willingness to fight to the death for its survival. But what would the galaxy's most powerful species do next? Would they respect humanity's rise, or would they seek revenge for their humiliation? Inside the Earth Defense Command Center, the leaders of humanity gathered to discuss the next steps. Marcus Cole, who had led Earth's military forces to victory, stood at the head of the table, his expression hard but thoughtful. The weight of the victory hung heavy on his shoulders. "We've won this battle," Marcus began, his voice steady, "but the galaxy will not forget this. Our victory won't erase the resentment of the alien factions. They will regroup, and next time, they'll come with everything they have." The room fell silent, each leader aware of the implications of Marcus's words. The Zarkar, Thraxi, and Varn would not forgive humanity for forcing them into retreat. Humanity had shaken the very core of the galaxy's power structure, and now The question was no longer just about survival, it was about what kind of future humanity would choose. The great decision, the United Earth Council, was faced with an impossible choice. The battle had been won, but at a cost. Earth's defenses had been strained, its resources stretched thin. The alien forces were not destroyed, just pushed back. Would humanity be able to defend itself again if another wave of attacks came? We have the power to defend Earth, Admiral Taylor said, looking at the gathered council members. But defending Earth isn't enough. The galaxy sees us now, and they'll be coming for us. We can't fight alone. We need allies. We need to decide if we're going to be an isolated world, or if we're going to stand as a power in the galaxy. The council members exchanged uncertain glances. Humanity had always been isolated, kept to its corner of the galaxy. But now, Earth had shown that it was no longer a passive participant in the universe, was a force capable of reshaping the balance of power. We've shown our strength, Marcus said, his voice growing louder, filled with conviction. But strength alone won't secure us a place in the stars. We must act strategically. We can either fight and keep fighting, or we can make the choice to unite. The debate raged for hours. Some believed that Earth should remain independent, that the galaxy would never accept humanity, and that any attempt to form alliances would lead to betrayal. Others argued that humanity's newfound power was the key to forging alliances with species who had long viewed Earth as insignificant. But there was one question that continued to rise above all others. If humanity chose to form alliances, which factions could they trust? The diplomatic gambit. After long deliberation, a decision was reached. Earth would make an attempt at diplomacy, but not with the galaxy's most powerful empires. Instead, humanity would look to the smaller, oppressed species, those who had long been exploited by the Zarkar, the Varn, and the Thraxi. Humanity had already shown its willingness to fight, but now it needed to show that it could unite the galaxy in ways that had never been attempted before. Humanity's first move was to extend an olive branch to the Galactic, a species from a distant star system that had been forced into servitude by the Thraxi. The Galactic were powerful, but had been beaten into submission for centuries. Would they see Earth as a threat, or as a potential ally? The Varn Dominion and the Zarkar Empire were still reeling from their defeat. Their fleets, shattered and scattered, would not attack again so soon. But they would never forget the humiliation they had faced. Humanity would have to be careful. There were factions within both the Varn and the Zarkar who were already plotting how to undermine Earth's rise. But diplomacy was a risk. Earth had never been a dominant power in the galaxy, and now it had to prove it could be a leader, not just a fighter. Would the smaller species trust humanity, or would the larger empires continue to view Earth as a threat that needed to be crushed? A galaxy divided as humanity sent its diplomats to meet with the Galactic, the Zarkar Empire began to regroup. Commander Khan, humiliated by Earth's resistance, knew that the galaxy had seen a shift, but he would not bow to it. The Zarkar would, a proud species, and revenge was in their blood. We underestimated them, Khan muttered to his advisors, but no more. Humanity's time as a power is over. The galaxy will belong to us, or we will destroy it. The growing tension, the first Gravik summit took place in a neutral space station, a place far from Earth and the center of galactic power. The Gravik ambassador, a towering figure with jagged silver armor, looked at Marcus with a mixture of curiosity and fear. "You've shown us your strength, human," the Gravik said, his voice low and resonant. "But strength alone won't win trust. It won't win peace. Marcus nodded. And trust is what we offer. Peace isn't just about strength, it's about cooperation. The Gravic ambassador's eyes narrowed. Then show us, human, show us that peace is possible and not just a facade to hide your power. A new path forward. The path ahead was unclear. Humanity had won the battle, but now it had to prove it could stand for something greater than itself. Survival alone was not enough. If humanity was to forge a new future in the galaxy, it would need to overcome its own fears and learn to trust others. The galaxy was now a place of uncertainty, where alliances were fragile and the balance of power was in flux. But one thing was certain. Earth had shown that no longer would it be a passive player. Humanity was not just surviving, it was fighting for its place among the stars. Asterisk. The cost of war, the victory, had come at a high price. Earth had proven its strength, but the cost of defending the planet from the galaxy's greatest powers was far from over. Humanity had fought for its future, but now it was faced with the harsh reality. War always had consequences. The damage to Earth in the wake of humanity's battle against the alien fleets. Earth lay scarred. While the Zarkar, Thraxi and Varn were forced to retreat, their assault had left significant damage. Cities once bustling with life were now ruins, their skyscrapers reduced to rubble. Earth's defenses, though formidable, had been stretched to their limit. Even now, as peace seemed to settle over the planet, there was an undercurrent of anxiety. Would the war ever truly end? Admiral Marcus Cole stood before a holographic map, watching as the data showed the state of Earth's recovery. Military bases, civilian sectors, and resource hubs were in critical condition. The war had not only cost humanity lives and infrastructure, but it had drained its resources. The warships and weapons that had protected Earth were now out of commission, or severely damaged. There were no guarantees that Earth could defend itself a second time, at least not with the same strength. "We've fought hard, but it's far from over," Marcus murmured, rubbing his temples. "The real battle starts now. We have to rebuild, and we have to secure our place among the stars. The galaxy won't just accept us. They'll be watching us carefully, waiting for the moment to strike." The price of victory, the cost of the victory, wasn't just material, it was also psychological. Humanity's victory had forced the Zarkar and Varn to re-examine their approach to the galaxy. But that didn't mean they were finished. Commander Khan, humiliated by Earth's resilience, was already planning his next move. And while the Varn diplomat had briefly considered peace, he was growing impatient. "The humans have proven they can fight," Commander Khan grumbled, his fists clenching around the armrests of his command chair. "But peace, peace is a game. And it's a game we can't afford to lose. We'll show them that this galaxy still belongs to the strongest." Khan's message, filled with bitter pride and unrelenting rage, was echoed throughout the Zarkar Empire. They had suffered, but they would never forget the insult humanity had inflicted upon them. The Varn, too, were beginning to see Earth as not just an annoyance, but a growing threat. Meanwhile, the Thraxi, the galaxy's most intelligent species, had quietly started to form their own plans. The fear that had first gripped them was being replaced with calculated interest. The question was no longer how to crush humanity, was how to manipulate humanity into serving their own needs. The Thraxi had played the long game for centuries. Earth's strength was undeniable, but its biggest weakness, they believed, was its fragility, its tendency to rely on alliances and the hope for peace. "If we cannot defeat them, we will make them our allies, or at least we will control them," the Thraxi commander said, his eyes gleaming with cold intelligence. Their rise can be our opportunity. The diplomatic gamble on Earth, the message of peace and alliances, was becoming more complicated. Marcus Cole knew that Earth had to form alliances if it was going to survive. But he also understood the dangers of trusting species that had spent centuries dominating the galaxy. The Galactic, the first species humanity had reached out to, were the first to test this new approach. The Galactic ambassador, a species of towering armored warriors, arrived at Earth's high-security diplomatic station, his gaze filled with both caution and curiosity, swept over the Earth representatives. The Galactic had suffered under the yoke of the Thraxi, and now they were considering humanity's offer. "We've seen what you can do, humans," the Galactic ambassador said in his booming voice. "But words are one thing. Action is another. You fought to defend your planet, yes? But can we trust you not to turn on us once your strength is restored?" Marcus didn't flinch. "Trust is something we must earn together," he said. "Humanity doesn't seek control. We seek survival. But for survival to work, we need alliances, and those alliances must be built on shared strength, not just promises." The Galactic was silent for a long moment, the weight of humanity's past and present actions settling in their minds. Finally, the ambassador spoke again, his voice softer, though still filled with hesitation. "We are not your enemies, but we will not bend to anyone, not the Thraxi and not you." The quiet before the storm. Despite their victory, humanity could feel the pressure growing. The alien empires, though retreating for now, were not finished. Earth's resources were limited, and the human fleet, though powerful, had suffered devastating losses. Earth's newfound position in the galaxy was precarious. Humanity had made powerful enemies, and the war was far from over. The universe had watched as Earth had fought back, but humanity had now shown that it was not just a planet to be feared. Was a planet that was capable of changing the galaxy's balance of power. The question now was not whether Earth could defend itself. It was whether humanity could navigate the dangerous political landscape they had just stepped into. For Marcus Cole, the fight had only just begun. Earth would need more than weapons. It would need wisdom, alliances, and the careful hand of diplomacy. And as the alien forces prepared for their next move, humanity had to decide if it would fight to preserve its survival, or if it would take a more aggressive stance and risk everything. Asterisk, the new order the universe was watching. Earth had declared its place in the galaxy, but the question remained, how would humanity play the game? The war was over for now, but the long-term consequences were just beginning to unfold. As Earth rebuilt, humanity had to decide not just how to survive, but how to thrive in the aftermath of their victory. A time for alliances in the months that followed the great battle. Earth's diplomatic efforts grew. Humanity's leaders understood that peace could not be achieved through force alone. They needed alliances, but those alliances would not come easily. The first real test came when Earth reached out to the Galactic, the powerful but isolated species that had been oppressed by the Thraxi. The Galactic had their own long history of mistrust, but they had also seen the power of Earth firsthand. They were reluctant to trust. But humanity's offer was too valuable to ignore. At a diplomatic summit on a neutral station, Marcus Cole met with the Galactic leader, Ambassador Torkin, a towering figure who had been forged in the fires of war. His species had known nothing but subjugation, but now, for the first time in centuries, they had an opportunity to rise. "We are not like the other species you have known," human Torkin said, his deep voice carrying a weight of wisdom and battle, we do not trust easily, and we do not bend to anyone. But we have watched your people. You fought not for domination, but for survival. That is something we respect. Marcus met his gaze, his voice calm but strong. We don't want to dominate anyone, but we do want a future where Earth is respected and the galaxy is not ruled by fear. The Gravik was silent for a long moment. Finally, Torkin spoke again, his voice gruff but softer. We will stand with you. But understand this, the Zarkar and Thraxi will not take kindly to this. They will try to turn us against you. Then we will face them together, Marcus replied. The deal was struck. For the first time, Earth had secured a true ally in the galaxy, and it wasn't just the Gravik who the smaller, oppressed species began to take notice. Humanity was making strides, but the road ahead was still uncertain. Not all species would be so easily swayed. The rising threat while humanity worked to build these new alliances. The Zarkar and Varn were busy regrouping. The defeat they had suffered at Earth's hands was a wound to their pride that would not heal easily. Commander Khan, still fuming from his defeat, gathered his forces in the dark corners of space. The Zarkar Empire, shaken but not broken, had already begun rebuilding. Their fleet, they had learned that Earth was not a species to be ignored, but they had also learned that the galaxy's greatest rivals were now united in a way they had never been before. The humans are dangerous, but we will not let them reshape the galaxy. Khan growled as he stood before his advisors. We will strike before they grow too strong. It's time we remind them of who they are dealing with. Meanwhile, the Varn Dominion, though shaken, was quietly regrouping. Their leadership understood that the humans could not be underestimated. The Varn ambassador, once eager to see Earth defeated, now spoke with careful calculation. We must adapt. Earth is a problem we can't ignore anymore. The Varn diplomat muttered, pacing. We need to contain them before they truly become a threat. But we must do it carefully. The balance of power has shifted. If we act too soon, we risk a war we cannot afford. The strain of peace, Earth's alliances grew, so did the pressure to maintain them. While the smaller species had begun to look to Earth for leadership, the larger galactic powers watched with increasing suspicion. The uneasy peace humanity had won was fragile. Every move Earth made was under intense scrutiny, and any misstep could spark another conflict. Admiral Taylor stood beside Marcus Cole in the Earth Defense Command Center, the weight of their decisions heavy on both their shoulders. We've gained allies, but we've also made enemies, Taylor said, his voice filled with concern. The Zarkar are still out there, and they won't stop. They'll come for us again. Marcus nodded, his gaze focused on the holographic map of the galaxy. I know, but we cannot live in fear forever. We have to show the galaxy that we stand for more than just survival. We stand for change. If we fight for a future where power doesn't rule us, where peace is not achieved by oppression, but by unity. Taylor was silent for a moment before speaking again. And what if the galaxy refuses that future? What if they won't accept Earth's place in the universe? Then we will show them that humanity does not need their permission, Marcus replied, his voice filled with resolve. A new era for Earth. The galaxy, once a vast and divided place, was now on the verge of something new. Humanity's rise had not been easy, but it had forced others to reconsider their place in the universe. The old order was crumbling, and a new one was being forged, one where Earth had a seat at the table. As Earth's alliances grew stronger, and its defenses more formidable. The future of the galaxy was being rewritten. But while humanity had won its place, the challenges were far from over. The Zarkar, Varn, and Thraxi were still powerful, still resentful, and still waiting for a moment to strike back. But humanity had shown that it was not weak. It was not just a species to be conquered, it was a force to be reckoned with. Now, the galaxy would either accept the new order or face the consequences of underestimating humanity's resolve.